in the whole industry, or like any industry that you take, is using data and trying to make best decisions out of that data which is available to them, right? So very important skill that I look for. How good are you at breaking down the problem, reducing the scope, or defining the scope in which direction you want to take, as well as how are you able to, what goes behind is the whole thinking around like converting a business problem into a data problem. What hypothesis, how do you scope it out, what hypothesis to validate, how to validate, etc. That is very important part.
Not every day do you get to hear from the minds driving India's fastest growing startups, but Coding Ninja learners did. In one of our recent 10x Club CXO Cafe session, we were joined by Mr. Amit Agarwal, Director of Analytics at Spinny, where he didn't just talk about dashboards and KPIs, but revealed how data, when used right, can unlock growth, shape strategy, and elevate careers. You're about to catch a slice of that experience, and this isn't just a conversation, it's a window into what happens when you are a part of the Coding Ninjas.
So our first question is from IIT Delhi, as Mr. Amit Agarwal is also an ISB and IIT Delhi alumni. So from IIT Delhi to leadership roles at OYO, Meesho and Spinny, can you walk us through your career journey? How was it starting and how is it till today and how has it been?
Yeah, sure. So IIT, I think it happened by chance. Definitely a lot of effort went into that, but I would say I was not very well aware in terms of what is analytics, what is data, everything. My first job into analytics, or me stumbling into analytics, was also an accident. Like when I started, it was more like I needed some campus placement. I got into like healthcare analytics. But yeah, when I started into data, I really started enjoying it. But that was my first start. So, but how it happened is like when I joined ZS, I worked on a lot of problems, but I started realizing that the analytics that I'm doing is more around solutions which are already there, but implementing it for new clients, like which is more like I'm learning, but I'm not going into the fundamentals, or I'm not going into the basics of why something we are doing, right? Which led me to my next pivot into a startup, like in healthcare analytics itself. Like I went into a startup because I thought that I'll get more chance into building a lot of solutions rather than just implementing what has already been built. Right. So I think that was good. Like enjoyed a lot there, built a lot of solutions from scratch in terms of data. Then ISB happened for me, which was like, how do like this curiosity around how do I get more and more out of what I'm doing with data was always building up. That's when I chose to join ISB, because I was moving more and more from what we are doing to why we are doing it. Like whenever I was in consulting, it was more around what I am doing, like what I am building. But this curiosity around like, okay, why do we even need to do this? Like, and then what we are doing or what we are recommending, how it is impacting in reality. Those things were always away from me in the start of my career, but I thought that is something which I want to learn and which I want to grow into, right? ISB gave me a lot of opportunity in terms of understanding problems end to end, like how to look at any problem statement from the start to the end, what happens, what decisions were taken, and how that impacted also, right? And post ISB, like it has been a very, very different journey for me. Like I started, whenever I was doing analytics, I started looking more from like the end-to-end perspective rather than only looking at the solution of the data or what I was trying to do, which definitely gave me an edge. Like whether it was Godrej, where I joined after let's say ISB, or OYO or Meesho or Spinny, right? Like so, this has been always has been consistent for me, that this curiosity and solving end-to-end problems always stayed. Now, if I talk about the last few years, like Meesho started giving me more opportunities around where I started to work in terms of how to build a culture of such solutions. Like how anyone or a team of analysts, when you have, how do you work with them? How do you enable them or empower them to build solutions which are long lasting? And they also start looking at problems end to end. And at Spinny, right now, I'm just trying to implement all those learnings which I've taken over the years, and now building a system or building a team which will help me to deliver that over the period of time, right? Building that culture is something that I'm trying to focus on right now.
Great. I think that has been, a great initiative that you're doing, and also your experience. And one thing we could summarize from your, career, which we could take is first thing is that curiosity of understanding things, how it happens from scratch. I think that is a very good, suggestion for you learners. Understanding things from the base itself, it gives you a better knowledge, or I think, as we can see as examples, as Mr. Amit also said, that this is something that has helped him succeed and lead to leadership roles. So I think this will, this is what I was talking about, learners. These are some things which learnings, experiences, which really help you reach that position where today Mr. Amit Agarwal is, and in future, maybe you're in a position and you could really say that time that I took this guidance from Mr. Amit Agarwal in my time, and that really helped me. So moving on to this, the next question. So can you just tell what was one early decision that truly changed your, path or your life in terms of your career?
So when I was talking to you about my career as well, right? Like, I think one of the earliest decisions which I made when I thought about moving out from ZS, right? Which was like at ZS, I had this stability in terms of like all the solutions were already made, and my job was more to implement them, like what is already existing, and do it again and again for different clients. There was learning, but the learning was limited in terms of what I could have done more. At that point, choosing that thing around moving to a startup, and that too in healthcare analytics, which with the whole team was around 18 to 20 people, right? And that too so early in my career, I think that shaped me out a lot in terms of like getting a technical depth in terms of any possible solution that you have to build, right? So I think that initial change helped me develop my foundational skills, which were then like universal across my whole journey. Like that foundation which was created definitely helped me, and I think that initial pivot into a startup definitely helped me do that.
Okay, so would you like advice? Is it something that really helps people like going into a startup, or does it make a very big difference? If you could, give some suggestions or advice.
See, like it depends. Like, so when I say startup, at the point when I started my career, at that point, like analytics in product tech ecosystem was also evolving. Like it was not something which was like a very well known, or you will see people doing that like as one of the initial choices of their career, right? So at that point, I think it was something which I didn't know should I do it or not, and it was a decision for me. But today, when I think about it, I don't think it makes a lot of difference like between startups and corporates, because today when we look at the ecosystem, the whole industry, or like any industry that you take, is using data and trying to make best decisions out of that data which is available to them, right? So anywhere, everywhere that you go, you see that data mindset is already available, which then reduces the gap which was there, let's say 10 12 years ago, between like a startup and a like very established company. So today, if you ask me, I don't think it makes much of a difference between a well-established company or a startup.
Right. So I think that is, a lot of people have these questions when choosing a company or your career path, that which company I should go to, a big brand or a startup. But I think they have got this answer from you, that it's more importantly the skill you have and also the mindset that the company has. Okay, great. So if you had to sum up your data journey in just one word, what would it be and why?
Yeah. See, I think the one word, like, and which I've tried to do and I've tried to build over this journey for myself as well, and which I relate a lot, is around impact or creating value, right? So, like, I feel that this role, analytics as a function, or any analyst, the amount of value that they can add to the whole ecosystem, if they are able to bridge the gap between data and business, right? I think it's the most powerful role that is available to drive a lot of insights and to drive a lot of decisions. So I think if anyone is what I have tried to chase is like, how can I create more and more impact, or how can I create more value based on the data that is available with me? So I think that is one word which I would choose and have continued to stay with me.
I really personally admire your answer. Like, as you said, impact, that is a very big thing. And as you said, the value that you're providing. Whatever efforts we give and whatever we do, it's always, at last, it comes to the value that we provide. And I think I really admire that answer. Okay, let's go to a very interesting question, because you have been in this analytics career for so long. So what's something about working in data that still excites you? I know even after all these years.
Yeah. See, I think whenever we talk about data, the most interesting or the most, like, there are aha moments in any role that you are, right? Like for me, in data, it's like that thrill or the rush that you get when you discover new insights, like something new, or like some insight that is there hidden in the data in some shape and form. And when you're able to figure that out, I think that's the most exciting moment, and that thrill still is there with me. And I always try to get that, like whenever I'm analyzing or whenever I'm working on any data, just that one aha moment where I'm able to figure out some or uncover some insight from it is I think like is something that I would live for any time, and like since forever as well.
Right. I think this is an amazing thing, because I think this is something which will never let you get bored of data ever, because there will be moments like these always, because everything is changing, new problems will be coming.
Yes.
And this is, really inspiring thing that you said, that these moments are something that makes you interested and keeps you in this field. So I think that is great for our learners who are into our data analytics course, and they are pursuing this. They're starting with this. So please note this down, that this is something which will help you stay interested. And if you're not excited, Mr. Amit, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you're not excited, you can never do well at work. If you're not excited, you never love your work.
Yes, definitely. Like I think that excitement, like what I will discover from data today is something why I wake up every morning. Like let's say if any problem that I'm working on, I'm not, and I know that data is the only way that you'll be able to uncover some insight and like build some create some more impact in the business that whichever company you're working for, right? So yeah, that thrill is something which keeps me up at nights as well, which helps me to go to office every day, and I think that thrill is something which I don't think anyone should lose at ever or at any point in time.
Yeah, a very useful and a very strong advice from. Yeah, and this is something. The next question that we have is, Mr. Amit, it's very related to our learners, that opportunity that they are getting right now. So, did you have any mentor early in your career, and how should young analysts, find and approach these mentors if they really want to excel in their life?
Yeah, I have had many mentors in my career. Like, see, like what I've realized at every point in time you're looking at different things in terms of mentorship. Like let's say not every time you require technical skills. At some point you're looking at more structure. At some point you're looking to learn some technical knowledge. At some point you're learning how to approach a problem. And at different points in time, like I have had mentors, and those mentors have helped me grow to the next level. So my advice, one, when you're looking for a mentorship, like the thing which should be very clear is like what you're looking, like what you are expecting out of that mentorship, right? Initially in my career, the idea was that I understand whatever data I'm working on, that's the best solution that I can build, that's the best way I can crunch the data. So getting that technical guidance was important. As I moved more and more, like it became more about how can I influence my stakeholders, how am I able to like create a story out of the data which is there, like so they're getting that insights. And now I would say like my mentorship goes more around like how do I build a team, like how do I empower my team, how do I build a team which can do all these things, like create a powerful team which can do everything, like build that culture of data driven informed decision making is something where I try and get more and more mentorship, sometimes through people like who I know, sometimes through let's say some influencers, some big folks in the industry who I follow and who I try to learn from. So there are different folks and there are different ways in which I've tried to get more and more mentorship in my career at least. and that's the same thing I would say, like for anyone, like be sure of what you're expecting out of that mentorship. It can come from anyone. It can be your peer as well. It can be your manager as well, wherever you're working. It can be some teacher as well. It can be some, let's say, some online teacher, or it can be some influencer as well, like in the same domain or in the same industry, right? So be open, be curious, and that's how you'll be able to get lots and lots of mentorship in terms of what you're trying to do.
Okay, exactly. And we also think that mentorship really helps, and that is the reason that for our learners we requested you to take this session. And I think we're really honored to have you here. That today, from your guidance, these people, our learners, are going to learn a lot of things, which could, which could be difficult for them to go around and then approach someone. Whereas they are getting the exclusive opportunity to connect with a leader like yourself, who is in, director of analytics at Spinny, such a popular company. So I think that is something we also try to do. And apart from this, also, as Mr. Amit said, continue that curiosity and be sure what you want. I think that is very important. Being sure and being, having a target that, okay, this is my goal. This is what I want. Okay, so we understood a lot about, the personal journey and the career moves of our esteemed speaker today, and we understood how we transitioned from starting roles to leadership roles. Now, our next set of questions we would try to explore and would like to know your view on analytics and fintech, how it has evolved over the years and what the aspects have changed. So we would really want some views from you. So relating to that, the first question is like, what is the most exciting shift in analytics that you have seen in 2025?
So I would say two things are happening, and which are happening very, very fast. One is across companies, people are trying to build a lot of structured data in their ecosystems, like because as let's say generative AI is evolving, a lot of analytics of basic data which is needed is gonna start moving to chat or through this like Gen AI trained bots. Right, which means for that you required a lot of structured data. So a lot of focus across companies is around how do they build that structured data in their ecosystem, which will help them do a lot of this basic like basic data pulls or basic data requirements through chat, and enable a lot of folks in the company itself rather than depending on analysts. That is one change which I see or which is happening. Second, I believe the role of analytics in itself is also evolving. Like let's say if initially it was from getting some data and getting some insights, as that becomes more and more common across the industry with this structured data systems, the role will start moving more and more towards how do you generate those hypotheses, how do you convert a business problem into a data problem, right? Like, so I think the role of analytics in terms of what they do and what they should do is evolving, and that will keep on evolving. Like we as a community would have to understand that only getting the data out or only like analyzing the data and coming out with some recommendations will not help, because that will become very, very common with the evolving systems of Gen AI, etc. So we have to move more and more towards, like, in terms of from the problem statement itself, how do you convert that business problem into a data problem, and how do you convert a data insight into a business insight and actionable, will become more and more important for any good analyst who is there in this industry.
I think Gen AI is something, AI as in whole is something people are really scared of, whereas it is useful for people and people are also scared of. And as you also mentioned about this Gen AI and the evolving role of the analyst itself. So just
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah. Just repeat the question again. So the question, as you said, the roles are evolving and AI has a lot of impact in today's time. So with Gen AI, Chat GPT, Auto ML, gaining steam, are analysts, as you said, evolve? They are evolving, but is there any threat of being replaced? And if you could be very honest, and if replaced, then what are the ways which you could take, or the precautions that you could take to not be replaced?
Yeah. See, as I said before as well, and I believe, I don't think analyst will be replaced. It will evolve more. Like let's say Gen AI, etc., or like all these auto ML, Gen AI, all these solutions will remove the repetitive work which the analysts were doing, right? It will also help, like it will like a co-pilot kind of system, right? It will help the analyst crunch out a lot of numbers or a lot of analysis faster, but converting that first converting that data insights into recommendations or into business insights, right? That thinking will still be required. And I think analytics in itself will keep on adding a lot of value there. How do you convert a business problem into a data problem, or the other way around, converting data insights into business insights, and the defined recommendations from that or the actionables from that, right? So that work will continue to be there. And I think will analysts in generally should start using more and more Gen AI in terms of reducing the work that they are doing. Like let's say if you have to write a logic, a lot of those logics can be automated, can be learned, or can be faster through Gen AI solutions, right? Like, so they should treat it as more as a support system that will help them do their work faster and more efficiently and without error, rather than thinking it will replace them over a period of time, right? Because that thinking part will always continue to be there, and that is the value which analysts are adding and will continue to add.
I think that was, really inspiring line, the last one that you said, that we need to use AI as a co-pilot, and analysts are evolving. They will matter, because at the end of the day, it's about the strategic and the business thinking, for which we are the data analysts are there, or the humans are there. So I think strategic thinking will become a very important skill in the coming days with Gen AI and doing half of the work.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, sir. Okay, we'll just go, to your past companies and being currently also in such a big company. So you have scaled teams at Oyo and Meesho and also at Spinny, such big teams. So what's one trait that makes an analyst instantly valuable to the team? That you see that this person has this skill or trait, and you know that, okay, this person is really valuable to this team.
Yeah, I think Bracket, I've worked with analysts, right? And the skill that I feel which differentiates very, very high growth folks versus people who continue on their journey but slower is like that trait for me is ownership. When I say ownership, what I mean is like people, if I give a problem, right, they will not just do what is asked, right? They understand that problem, they understand the context, take end-to-end ownership of what is expected out of it and drive it, like any follow-up, anything that can be there, drive that whole solution end-to-end. I think that is one thing. Whenever anyone has shown this, like who treats, like who behaves as a owner of the problem statement rather than only the data, right, is someone who grows very fast. And that is one trait which I definitely think like any analyst who wants to grow or who wants to become great at their work should have, like treating or thinking of that problem statement of as their ownership, like as their responsibility, rather than treating the data required to understand that problem as their responsibility, is what I would say.
Great. So learners, keep noting these down, because these are exclusive insights and exclusive advices from a leader in the industry. And this is not something which you get every day, connect to a leader in the industry. So keep noting these down, because these are something that will surely help to take your career from X to 10X. Okay, so let's move on to the next set of questions. So we'll come to the skill part of the thing. Like, as you said, 2025, the traits, as you said, about structured data, people are concentrating or are more, requirement of structured data plus Gen AI. So what are the 3 non-negotiable skills in 2025 for cracking a data analyst role at, product companies like Spinny or the popular product companies?
Yeah, I think see, one skill or other skills that I evaluate any candidate on when I am also hiring, like one is a core competency, which is technical skills, which we talk about. Like they should be good at coding, they should be good at understanding or converting any data problem into a logic or a code, right? That is one part which should definitely be there. Like how proficient are they at writing out codes or defining the logic in the code, what is needed, right? Second, I believe is I would say it problem first, or like let's say problem structuring as a skill, right? Like let's say if I give you a problem, how are you able to figure out, because like if you just directly go into data, you don't even know what you're looking for, right? Like, so how do you break down a problem, uh, identify what is the data which can help you understand whether that is a problem or not, right? How do you build that expertise? Like any problem statement, how do you break it down, and then figuring out the right data which will help you answer that problem statement, whatever you're looking for, whatever the hypothesis that you have generated. Like, so that it's a very it's a very important skill that I look for. How good are you at breaking down the problem, reducing the scope, or defining the scope in which direction you want to take, as well as how are you able to use data, or how are you able to think that what data can be used to validate or disprove the hypothesis that you're trying to do, right? Sometimes it will be direct data, sometimes it will be proxy data, can be anything, right? And third is like storytelling, which is basically, let's say you are able to come at some recommendations. How good are you able to build those insights or whatever data that you have crunched into a story which tells something, that what exactly has happened and what should we do next, right? Crafting that story using those data points as inputs or as a crucial part of that whole story that you're trying to tell. I think these are the top three skills which I look for. Like how good are you at problem structuring, figuring out the data, like which data to look at, how to look at, etc. How good are you at once you have some insights, how good are you at crafting a story to tell that to anyone and like influence the decision making. And technical skills, definitely, because like you won't be able to do any of this without those core technical skills. So I think if I have to say three things, this would be the top three things on my mind where if someone wants to become a very good product analyst or a business analyst.
I think that was a great thing. And as Mr. Amit also said, that these are the very important skills. And as at Coding Ninjas also, we are trying to do the same thing. As we give them, they get the opportunity to learn the technical skills from their courses. Plus at Coding Ninjas 10X Club, we always, try to keep these sessions, which are mostly in storytelling or, how to be a strategic thinker, what are the frameworks. So I think you have also given us a more, clear way. I've given this emphasis on three skills, which is very important to us also as the 10X Club, because we could have more sessions like these to help our learners have upskill themselves and have these important skills. Okay, so we got the three top skills that a person should have to get a job in Spinny, but just the other side of the coin, what's one red flag you spot immediately in interviews?
So I'll tell you one thing. Like I don't remember the number, but I would have taken more than like 200 interviews over the last 2 years of like for analysts, right? So one thing which is a very very big red flag for me is like, let's say if someone starts describing some project or some work that they have done, right? And when you ask a question around like why or like what so what of it, like whatever analysis or insights that you have generated, so what of it. And when let's say like there is no answer, or when people don't know why they did something, that is a very big red flag. Like without understanding a context, just crunching data is never helpful. Like you will never grow if you don't understand why you did something, right? And how will you use what you did. So I think this is a very big red flag whenever I talk to candidates, and when they start talking about their project and any depth around like why they did something or why they took some decision in their let's say either analysis or their insights or their recommendations, and there is no answer or it's very vague, it's something that puts me off very very much.
And learners, this is a very important point. Like, don't keep this, because as Mr. Amit also said, that understanding the why is important, because whatever we are trying to do, or whatever work we have done, even if we do a small data entry into Excel, a very small work, we should know why we are doing it and what was the impact that thing will have. So I think note it down in bolds that this is a red flag, and do not, be very clear about what you have done and why you have done, so that you don't become a next red flag. And even if you get chance, to get, like, if Mr. Amit Agarwal is interviewing you, maybe. So do not keep this red flag. I'm sorry, but Mr. Amit, like, maybe it was a secret, but we shared it with our candidates.
No, I think like I always tell candidates, like whenever this happens, like I give this feedback, like without knowing if you're doing something, you're not learning anything. Like, so I think that is very, very important. And sooner you know this, like the better it is for your career growth as well. Because half big knowledge is never helpful.
Correct. Very important suggestion, very important life advice, and I think we all should follow that, which Mr. Amit Agarwal has told. Okay, so there has been some myths around data analytics, and some people have this thinking that analytics is just dashboards and SQL. But what's the invisible part of that job, that actually drives the growth?
Yeah, so see, dashboards are hygiene, right? What that basically means is like everyone wants to look at data, right? And everyone should have, like, the data should also be democratized in some way and form, right? Like, which means that everyone should have access to data or whatever metrics they want to look at, right? But that's just hygiene from a analyst's, like that should be hygiene from an analyst POV. Like whenever he has been asked to create dashboards, or whenever he is creating some dashboards, he knows that unless you do it, your work will revolve around it. So it's just something that you do and get away with it, so that you start focusing on more important problems, right? When you talk about dashboards and SQL, see, SQL is just nothing but a tool, right? Like if you focus on the tool, you don't know what problem you are solving, right? Like I think the what goes behind is the whole thinking around like converting a business problem into a data problem. What hypothesis, how do you scope it out, what hypothesis to validate, how to validate, etc. That is very important part. And as I said before, like the last side of it, like anyone can read data, right? But analysts are the ones who are able to convert that data into insights, and then that insights into business actionables, right? I think, and that is what goes behind, like from an analyst POV, like, and this is what I see analytics should be doing and is doing across, at least in my teams wherever I've been leading.
Right. So in this relation to same thing, like as you said, okay, we have cleared this myth that SQL and dashboard are just the tools that help you. The main thing is strategic thinking. So that is the most advantageous thing that you said. But if you could, give us an advice or a roadmap, because you have had this experience, you have seen the evolving landscape of data analytics. So if you could, give a roadmap or a path for freshers, career switches, and professionals with more than 4 years of experience, if you could give, because I think these three are the main domains or the main segmentations that have, and people think that okay, their way of entering or my path will not be the same, because there may be different challenges. So what would be your advice to these three segments, and what would be the best path to grab the best, a great role in data analytics?
Yeah, let's start with freshers first. Like, see, for freshers, I feel like instead of just solving problems which already have very structured data, right? Taking a real problem, a real world problem, like let's say it can be anything. Let's say you're using some app, any app, let's say, and on that app you see that okay, I didn't do X thing or I didn't do Y thing. Then why is that even there? So it starts that curiosity, like, okay, should it be there? How many users are using it? Why they're using it? Why am I not using it? From that point, once you start doing it, figure out like if you have to solve that problem or analyze that problem, how will you go about it? Like start building that curiosity of in any product, what is happening? Why is the flow like that? Are there better ways to do it? what data will you use to understand and understand that, or let's say solve that problem if that drop off exists, right? So be that curious, focus on real world problems, right? From a coding skills, like have that basic SQL structured data analysis understanding, but also focus on, like, let's say if it's a real world problem and where the problem is also ambiguous, you have to figure out what data can be helpful as well, right? Focus on that. Like, a lot of analytics is not coding, it's all about preparing for that. When I say preparing for that, like identifying what problem to solve, how to approach it, what data to look at, right? And then going and solving that problem using SQL, right? So I think that, like, taking a large amount of time and putting that thinking hat on to, like, at least understand the problem statement or what you are trying to do. I think that is very, very important. So keep that curiosity and focus on that before using the tools or like driving into data to figure out insights. So I think that is very important. If we talk about experienced folks, I would say this skill, like, I'm assuming if people are experienced folks, they have already gone through this phase of real world problem solving. They have already been in the industry, have done certain things in terms of, let's say, individual roles, solved real world problems as well. At least what I believe is, like, as you grow, a lot more importance has to go towards, like, how do you influence stakeholders in their decision making on a day-to-day basis. Like, let's say, how are you good enough in terms of that, let's say, whatever data, whatever analysis has happened and whatever insights you are able to get, are you able to influence the decision making for business, for stakeholders, and create value for the company or not? I think that becomes a very important part for any experienced folks. At the same time, like, are you able to mentor or are you able to guide new folks in terms of building their career as well? So I think this two skills become very important for experienced folk. I would say career switchers are somewhere in between. Like, they have some experience, but probably not as much as, let's say, 5-6 years, or if you're talking about experienced folks, right? For them, I think they have the technical skills. They have worked on a couple of problem statements in their initial jobs, etc. So their focus should be more and more towards, like, getting more and more passionate about data. Like, I think that is the time when you are able to deep dive very, 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 very granular into data, right? So building that passion in terms of learning, in terms of, like, solving that problem end to end becomes very, very important. So I think having that passion and having that thinking head around, like, okay, if I have to solve this problem from end to end, like, what data to look at to how do I drive that actionable on ground? So I think that learning is very, very important, and that is what any career switcher, or, like, let's say, someone who has just stepped into the industry should focus on.
Yeah, so I think this was a really good insight, because understanding the different aspects becomes very difficult for us, because we have not reached that question. And from someone like you who has seen the whole journey and has excelled, I think this is very necessary to understand. And thank you so much, Mr. Amit Agarwal, for all these questions that we have answered so long. They are really helpful for our career and even for our lives to excel ourselves.
Sure.
Okay, let's move to the next question, which is, which, as you have mentioned a lot of times, that, that strategic thinking or the product thinking is something that gives you the edge, that thinking you have. So, what's one soft skill? Because we understood technical skills are important, strategy thinking is important, understanding data is important. What would be the one soft skill that every analyst at Spinny specifically is expected to master? Because you are leading that team, and what do you expect that, okay, this analyst, or they should have this specific soft skill, and this is compulsory, they should have it?
See, I would say one very important skill for me is, like, end-to-end problem ownership. Right? What I mean by that is, basically, I don't want you to stop once you get the data out or once you recommend. I want you to be there in identification of the problem as well, in designing the solution as well, in implementing the solution as well and in scaling up of the solution as well, right? Like you have to be a constant owner of that problem statement rather than just being a spectator at all times except when you're required, right? So I think that is one skill which is very, very important for any analyst who is there in my team, that I expect you to be a part of that problem statement end to end and work with the team and learn all aspects around it.
Great. I think very, very true, sir. And this I have also heard the same thing, that nobody's problem is everybody's problem. So that is the thing. Like, you have to take ownership, and that is a very important advice that you have given. So similarly, this was an soft skill or a characteristic trait a person must have. So similarly, what should be that one technical skill that is under the radar in 2025, very trending, and it is not so much popular now, but it's going to explode in the next 2-3 years? Is there any technical skill that you would say that which is similar to this?
See, one is, I think I'll break it down into two parts. One is we are seeing that evolution right now only. In analytics itself, like how good are you at defining the right prompts for GenAI to get the best out of it? And that I think will be a common thing across all the roles, that are you able to define the right problems for the LLMs to get you the best answers or what you're trying to solve? So I think that is a very, very important skill which will continue to be there. But from a very, very technical perspective, if I have to talk about, I think a lot of focus, as I said, is going into building structured data, right? So for analysts also, learning the aspects of data engineering from a sense of like what is the right schema, how a star structure works or whatever it is, right? So learning those skills and like how to create scalable data systems will be very, very important as it is evolving as well. And almost every company will require their data structured in some shape and form, right? So I think that is a very, very important skill.
And if you could give any advices or suggestion, like how people could be good at these skills?
Yeah, as I see, there are multiple ways, right? Like let's say one is doing some practical examples. When I say practical examples, think about any company. Like let's say what kind of data that company can have. Let's say you figure out the whole structure in terms of, let's say it has some it has customers, it has suppliers, it has a marketplace, so it has some orders, it has some fulfillment, can be that 5-6 different things, right? So one is having that visual understanding, like if you have to create a schema or a design or an architecture of such a system for any company, right? How do you think about it? How do you build about it, right? So one is that soft side of things, which is having that visualization or having that understanding of how to even think about such systems is very, very important, which can happen through multiple ways. One is like learning, doing a lot of research in terms of how people are doing, what they are doing, how they are building such ecosystems. From a very, very technical perspective, like the way the size of the data is also evolving, right? And once we have to create such structured systems, it will require a lot of data crunching, which is happening on the back end, right? Which will require a lot of optimized code or a very heavy cost, right? So from a coding lens, identifying those parallel processing systems or like languages which are faster and cost effective will be very, very important as well. Like let's say whether it's Spark, whether it's Scala, can be anything.
Sure. And okay, moving on to the last set of questions for today. So a very important part is the interviewing part, because people have skills, they have working experience also. Even if they are freshers, the interviewing part becomes a very tricky and most important part. And one of the most important element of that is a resume. So what's the one thing that you instantly see and you reject that resume? That is one thing that you see in a resume which people should not have in a resume.
See, I'll tell you very, very candidly. So at least at a fresher or at a junior level, we don't do much of resume screening, right? Like because we believe everyone should get a they don't have enough exposure or enough problem statements on their resume, which will help us tell what kind of like how good they are at problem solving or not, right? So we try and give a chance to everyone, right? Like we have our internal processes around that. There are tests or there are technical interviews, etc., which happen, which helps us segregate them who are doing good or who are not, right?
Okay.
But when I go to, let's say, experience levels, resume starts becoming very, very important, right? I won't like a lot of times people write about like what they've done in terms of coding, right? Like let's say they talk about that they've created some dashboard, or they talk about that they've streamlined some data pipeline or data systems, right? Those things, those things on resume tell me that they don't understand the problem that they were solving, right? Like I don't expect, at least from analytics folks, to be very, very technical in terms of their resume. It should be like, as I said, like when you don't have the context and you're solving a problem, you will write those things. That this is what I did technically, rather than talking about what problem you were trying to solve, and this was just an approach that you used to solve that problem, right? So I would want that, like, if in the resumes, people should focus more on the broader context of the problem statement that they were trying to solve and how they solved it, rather than talking more from a technical lens, that what kind of data pipeline they worked on, what kind of dashboard they created, whether they use Tableau, Power BI, all those things. So I think that is one thing which I look for whenever I'm looking, and that is one thing where, like, which becomes a screening criteria for me, at least for experience levels.
And my next question, which was coming through, I think you have answered one part of it. So it was, what's a smart interview move that 1 in 100 candidate does, but that is the thing that makes a lasting impression? So what do you feel? What is that smart move that only 1 in 100 candidates do it?
See, there are two parts to it. One is from a technical front, right? Like, so in my interviews, I do have some technical questions which I ask, right? And those are nothing but like, it's more common sense that you have to apply than to apply a very complicated code, right? So a lot of people are able to do it, a lot of people are not, right? But it's just about taking a step back, thinking about that problem, like what is expected, and doing it. And whoever has done that has been able to do it right. Like, it's nothing complicated about it. It's just like putting some time to think about it, like what is expected out of it, right? So one is that. Like, second, I think whenever I do a case study, like, which is a business problem solving, whenever it starts going from, let's say, someone telling me what they're doing, or like someone telling me how they will solve it, to a conversation, which means that they're telling me something, there are questions which they're asking me, there are expectations from me to help them move ahead, is something which I like a lot. Like, and if people do that more, like, instead of making it more of a monologue in terms of the case study that they're solving, asking the right questions at right points in time to get that direction which they need, that definitely is something which I like a lot. And then it goes in a very positive direction in terms of the interview as well.
Great. And today, learners, I think you have got a lot of insider secrets today, that what are the things that could help you excel, and what also Mr. Amit likes personally. So if you are that skilled, I think you should, ever there's an opportunity at Spinny, you should go and take that opportunity and interview with Mr. Amit Agarwal. Because we had a lot of technical life, and we had all these series of questions. So this is something kind of an fun aspect of a question that I have. The next question. So what's the most weirdest or the most surprising insight that you have ever uncovered from data, and that made you say that, okay, this can't be real, this is not real? If any insight that you got that was very surprising.
I have to think a lot about it, but I'm sure there has been such situations a lot of times in my career, right? Like, okay, so I will not name the company or like the actual incident what happened, but what happened basically was that we were doing some root cause analysis of some metric dropping. Like let's say the metric was via, let's say, daily active users, which is how many people were opening the app on a daily basis, right? We tried to figure out what happened. We realized that some communications were not working the way we expected, right? Okay, so we started diving there, that why, what happened, what changed. We realized we have not changed anything, uh, but still it happened. And then we realized at some point the biggest problem what happened was that there was some other events that we were doing, right, because of which people's behavior on the platform changed. Like we were doing some very region specific, let's say, catalogs. We were pushing those lot more, right? So what happened was, because of people's behavior on what they were clicking, what they were doing, all those changed, which changed the communications that we were sending, because all those things were personalized, right? And since we were pushing something which people were clicking, it had a second order impact on some other metric, right? And it impacted our whole future, let's say, people who were coming on the app, right? And we never expected that some small changes that we do at one place can have some second order, third order impact on so many other things as well, right? And when we uncovered it, like as I said, there are aha moments. We realized that there are things which we impact unknowingly as well, instead of knowingly, which you don't want and you didn't expect, but it happened, right? So yeah, that was a very good insight, and based on that, we then define what to do. How do we solve such problems as well? But yeah, it was very, very fascinating to see that how it actually played out over like a few months, over like doing different things. Then there is some negative impact, and then it came back again. A similar thing happened. So whenever we took some action, this happened. But very exciting it was.
Really surprising that such a small thing can create such a big impact later.
Yeah.
And also, I think here we could confidently say that data acts as a very big part, because even if I think whenever your team or yourself could understand, it was because of with the help of data. I think data plays a very big role.
Yeah. Without data, we would have never known. It would have been just hypothesis.
Right. Okay. So we'll have the very quick rapid fire round. So I'll just ask you questions, and a very quick 1 second answer we would expect. So if you would be ready, we'll go ahead with that. Sure. Okay, Mr. Amit. So let's start the Fireside Chats rapid fire round. So the first question: SQL or Python?
Okay, SQL.
SQL. The one tool you can't live without.
In today's world, I would say ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. One word to describe your leadership style.
Empowering everyone.
Very amazing. One book every data enthusiast must read.
I don't exactly remember the name, but there is this book which talks about, which has looked at data in a very different way. Like it talks about, so one of the incidents in that book is more about, like, let's say there is how folks who are at some born in particular months actually become cricketers, or actually have a better career as compared to people who are born in other months, and it has something to related to age, right? So which is like, and it was only talking about, so that book, I'll share that name if I remember it, but that book was actually about how do you get insights from data where you can't even think that it is even possible. So it talked about many such incidents, like where data was giving you some insights which you can't even think. Like I could have never thought that people who are born in September, or like, let's say if I look at the cricketers who are there in this world, right, most of them would be born in September, October, November, December, rather than Jan, Feb, March. So
that is really, it's really surprising that this thing, as you said, that even the month matters which career you are. I think that was really an interesting insight you got.
I think someone has written down the name of that book. Yes, Outliers, I believe.
Okay. Learners, so you should really read this book. As Mr. Amit said, it's really interesting that you wouldn't even expect what data and how data is impacting everywhere, and how data can be the answer.
Yes.
Okay, we just missed the fire. We got slow in the rapid fire.
Sorry, my
So
bad.
no, not at all, not at all. It was my bad. I went into it. Okay, just we'll go to the next one. One myth about data analysts that needs to die.
That they only provide data.
Very true, very true. What's the coolest perk of working at Spinny?
Like very high ownership and very open to experimentation.
I think, and that's the most, the youth is something that likes it. And I think if you like learners, if you like this, and if you have the skill, surely go for these companies and you would really like it there. Okay. And a very important question, because you said you love and you're curious about data, you're passionate about data. But if not data, what career would you be in?
Maybe a poker player.
That is really exciting. That was, out of the book. But great. So you like playing?
Yeah, definitely.
Great. And okay, after this question, I'll just share something about poker. So, a personal advice from yourself to your 22-year-old self, if you went to the past and you're standing in front of your 22-year-old self. So in just 3 words, what would be your advice to your 22-year-old self?
One definitely would be stay curious.
Okay.
I think curiosity is the key to everything. Second is explore a lot. Try different fields, try different ecosystems, learn a lot, and have a very create a network from which you learn a lot. So I think that would be the 3 things which I will tell myself.
Okay. And I think your 22-year-old self, after listening to this, would be, I think, in the same position that you are, or even better with these advices. I'm sure about that. Okay, so the last and the final question for tonight's Fireside Chat. And we have got a lot of insights from you about your career, how to take that path, about interviews, skills, what are the trends. So at last, what would be that one piece of advice you would give to every data aspirant, watching this session today? So what would be that advice that you would want everyone to follow, and which has helped you in your career?
See, I think in some way or the other, I've been trying to tell this thing throughout this whole interview, but I seriously believe unless you own the outcomes, unless you show ownership of the outcomes of business, you can't be a very good data analyst ever. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is, if you think only crunching data, or if you think only giving out the data will make you a very great analyst, or you're doing the job right, it's not that. You have to start connecting everything together and start looking at the big picture, from the context to finally crafting and telling that story.
So I think, this advice will really help, because in today's time, when AI is doing half of the work and, helping us, so that human thing we have to make that strong, which makes us human and stand out of that crowd.
This wasn't just a simple conversation, it was a glimpse into how data drives real change. And these powerful conversations happen only inside the 10X Club by Coding Ninjas. So if you're ready to learn, grow, and lead, click the link below to join Coding Ninjas and be a part of the 10X Club. This is just a glimpse of what's ahead. So stay tuned for more sessions of the CXO Cafe series by Coding Ninjas 10X Club.